Alright, everybody and their mother are doing these kind of the state of Hypixel Skyblock, is it dying, blah 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 type of videos. So I figured I'd give you my own take, my own opinion as a late game player, level 425, 66 in the world. Before we get into it, I do want to ask you guys to please scroll down and subscribe. We're going for 30k and the YouTube rank. We just hit 14k. I will also be live as this video goes live at twitch.tv/Yadi, so check me out there and let's get into the video. So first of all, is Skyblock dying? My answer to that, not any more than Minecraft is dying. Minecraft is coming off a massive high from COVID. Post-COVID, obviously the player count will go down, and Hypixel's player count should and will complement this and also decline. But that does not mean the game is dying, has been dying, or will die anytime soon. Take a look at games such as COD, such as Fortnite, such as Fall Guys. None of these games are at their peak. If you're not going up, you're gonna be going down. Would you consider any of these games dead? I wouldn't. And for those of you that question why I put Fall Guys in there, Fall Guys has 250,000 concurrent players as of this moment, and it hasn't been relevant for what, a year, 2, 3, 4? I don't even know if it's been out for 4 years, but you get the point. Number 2, this is something that 30's been saying for a couple of years, is there content drought? In my personal opinion, content drought does not exist, nor has it ever. People like 30 that complain about content drought rely on the game updating to make fresh and new content, which is fine. Don't get me wrong. If that's what you want to do, that's fine. But channel stability depends on the game updating. Most, if not all, big YouTubers seem to always have fresh and new content, no matter what it is that they're doing. Why? Because they're creative. They make the content. They find new, cool, never before seen ideas or rip the ideas from other people. You know how it goes. They apply their creativity to the game and turn it into something new. And creativity never gets old. As long as you're always finding a new spin, finding something that intrigues people, finding good ideas, the content itself will never die. Maybe the game will get boring, but specifically for Skyblock, there's still a lot of stuff that people haven't done. For example, I had this idea for Lethal Company the other day. Basically, instead of playing the game, you play hide and seek with self-imposed rules. 1 seeker, 3 people in the facility. The hiders can't leave the facility. If they do, seeker wins. You gotta kill them with a shovel, blah, 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 blah. That's a cool, fun spin that I had just playing with my friends. It could become a cool series if I were a lethal YouTuber, or if some bigger YouTuber were to do something of that scale. But creativity is what makes the content, not the game itself. One of the greatest hits on Skyblock YouTube was the Iron Man profile, which at the time, when popularized by Rage Train himself, was self-imposed rules. If we had more YouTubers thinking like that, we'd have more unique and fun content. Another spin I've seen is that Interests has done his Golden Man series. Now obviously, there's a limit to this kind of changing the way you play through the game content, and sometimes you need a different goal other than just trying to progress through the game. But at the same time, it's an MMO, so that's going to be the most appealing kind of content. But there's no limit to this kind of thinking. So part of what inspired this video is Vid's video on the state of Hypixel Skyblock, as well as Alex Offie's video. So I might reference those two videos when I'm talking about some of the points I bring up. Vid claimed that updates have been way too focused on newer players instead of the late to end game player base. Now, the first thing I want to say before I get into my points is I agree with Vid. Almost every point Vid made, I agreed with. But what I don't think Vid did was I don't think Vid saw the bigger picture, and I think the takes are kind of selfish. And I think that because it's my opinion too, I'm in the same spot Vid is, and I agree that it's also selfish. So let me get into it. First of all, the game is actually so complex and confusing that it's starting to turn away new players that get overwhelmed as soon as they join the game. Some will go to YouTube where guides are required for understanding, but most will give up and never touch Skyblock again. Most people in my Twitch chat have told me that if they didn't have YouTube, they would have never gotten this far and probably would have quit. Because if you don't know what you're doing, generally the game isn't fun, you're not going to stick with it. That's an issue. That shouldn't be something that's happening. I understand the game's scale and size and how long it's been out, but they need a better way of introducing people to content instead of throwing you into the mix and letting you fend for yourself. Maybe instead of straight up locking content behind levels, there can be a new tutorial system that is skippable for players that don't care or who have already played the game before, but it shows in depth how the intricate systems work, such as Reforges, which is unique, Magical Power, which is unique, Wisdom, which is unique, Fortune, which is unique. There could even be separate tutorials for something like Dungeons, so you could still have the level system. First tutorial shows the overview of the game. Once you start to get into Dungeons, that first little entrance is a separate tutorial that walks you through how it works. And it would actually guide you through your first entrance run without just throwing you to the wolves. Obviously, this idea can be refined, but I think it would be healthy for the game. The other reason why most updates in the past year have been targeted to newer players and not to endgame players is that simply there's more of them. 95% of the player base, probably more, will never reach level 400. And that's almost guaranteed. While they shouldn't be ignoring late game players, that definitely shouldn't be their sole focus for the game. While I understand where Vid is coming from, I'm basically in the same spot he is, if not worse, because I'm higher level. It's a very selfish viewpoint. If the admins ignore the majority of players, the game will die. The game will also die if it struggles to gain new players. Vid said in the comments of this video that it is possible that there's a silent majority of players who are early mid-game, but that he doesn't ever see them. I thought it was a really funny point, because silent majority literally means you'll never hear them because they're silent. And the other thing is you can't see the silent majority. Simply hop from hub to hub. You'll see players ranging from all types of levels, but most of them between level 1 to the 200 range. That's the majority of players that play Skyblock. And I'm also not saying to ignore the late game players. You definitely need to focus on your late game players because those are your hardcore fans, the people that really are the lifeblood of the game, that are going to keep the game going just because they love the game that much. But I understand why they're focusing on the newer players, because they're trying to get retention up. Looking at Skyblock from a content sort of scope, no, starting a new profile is not required to keep up content. I realize 30 did it and was successful, and I see Vid doing it on an Iron Man as well, but it's not something that's required. Maybe it's useful to help realign your viewpoint with the viewpoint of an early game player, thus helping make content, but repeating progression that you've already done just for the sake of getting videos out is not the best way to go about it, in my opinion. I'm level 425, barely have anything left to do in the game, and I'm still writing down new, unique content ideas every day that I have not seen a single creator in the Skyblock community do. There are fresh ideas that lead to fresh and new content that can either lead to series or other spin-offs. That's what is healthy for the game. Not just starting an Iron Man when you run out of quote-unquote content. Again, level 425 I still have content. For example, if I max Skyblock XP, I could do max player fishing setup, max player Diana. There's so much content to be milked from doing a piece of content at the game and slapping on max player because people simply want to see what's achievable. And that in itself is very cool. I also feel that maxing Skyblock XP, at least for myself, frees up my creative thinking into finding content in other parts of the game, which is not just max player this, max player that. I've thought of a lot of things I want to do that aren't just that. I won't list them now, because again, I don't want those ideas to be stolen. People are kind of vultures. But they definitely do exist. Fourth point, Vid brought up, upset with fire sales. Why are there so many fire sales? I don't understand why people are upset with fire sales. At the end of the day, a Hypixel is a business. And the focus of a business, the main priority of a business, is to make a profit. But purely and simply, it's to make money. I don't understand why people are so upset with fire sales. The simplicity of it is, if you don't want the fire sales, or if you don't want them this frequently, then don't buy them. Consumers speak with their wallets. And if enough people disagree, then that will change how the manufacturer will put out their products. The only caveat to this is that if Hypixel fire sales are still selling out even with you not buying them, or with the whatever community you have not buying them, then that means that you're holding an opinion that differs from what a majority of other people think. If the majority of people don't mind and they're going to keep buying fire sales, Hypixel's going to keep putting them out. I don't see an issue with it. It's cosmetic. It's not like it buffs you in game. I understand that there's a big market for it and that there are pet collectors, and I understand why they would be upset, but again, that's not the majority of the player base. Another point that a lot of people make is that admins shouldn't put time into fire sales and should instead put time into updates. And I agree with this. This is 100% true. And while this is true, fire sales probably take an hour at most to put together. Might even be AI generated. I highly doubt putting out fire sales is taking away from their time being put into updates, especially with how compartmentalized that Hypixel is. The admins, I personally feel, the admins don't even talk to each other. They work on their separate updates, they do their separate jobs. It's not a cohesive team, or at least that's how it comes off to the community. Number 5, bad updates. I know a lot of this video has been sort of conflicting with what Vid said, but I want to add here that I actually agreed with his entire video. All the points he made, I agreed with, especially since I'm basically in the same spot as him. However, a lot of times I do play devil's advocate, and I tend to look at the entire picture. I've learned as I've gotten older that picking sides doesn't really help an argument, and I like to get all of the facts straight and try to present a cohesive story to somebody so that they can decide themselves. And while I agree with his point, some points I can look at and see why it's selfish to think that, such as the early game updates. One thing we unanimously agree on is the amount of bad updates that were pushed last year, and that had not been discussed with nerds, and had been wasted time and money, and had not been communicated with the community at all, such as canceled updates like ability transfusion and attribute transfers. Literally all Hypixel would have to do is poll the community, either in their Discord, or on Twitter, or through the forums, or through any other way, and see what the majority of players think. And while they don't always have to listen to the majority, they should at least know how the players feel before putting in all that time, effort, and money into an update that was turned into a dumpster fire and a waste of time. One big thing that Vid hit on that I heavily agree with is that admins need better communication. I cannot think of a single company that has hurt itself from being totally transparent with the community. And that does not mean letting the community drive the game or make the final decisions. That's not what I'm saying. They can still make the decisions that the community doesn't like, but at least walk us through what you're thinking, why the decisions are being made, not just keeping the community that has put thousands and thousands and thousands of hours, especially because it's an MMO, not keeping us in the dark. One big point that Vid brought up that I've been saying since before I even heard him say it, is that I think Hypixel desperately needs, and has needed for years, a PR person, a public relations person. It's really not hard to go out and hire one person, especially because of the money. Hypixel has money. They're not struggling by any means. A PR person may not even have a hard job except around update time, but just someone to connect the admins with the community, someone to do damage control around the updates, someone to actually post on social media instead of whatever TikToks Hypixel's been doing, someone to take care of all the little things, because you know, the little things matter. Every company has a PR person or a PR team for a reason. It's to give admins peace of mind and also allow them to not talk to the community because they clearly don't want to. They can just talk to this person then. It's a lot easier to have a one-on-one, let this person be the face of the update, all that good stuff. And this person can talk to the community. Open communication would keep people engaged, drive up interest, and make community members feel as if their opinion actually matters. And here's the thing, whether it matters or not, at least it makes them feel this way. It's all about how they perceive you. It doesn't always have to be yes, no. There's a lot of gray area, and you can create positive perceptions. Number 6, which I don't think a lot of people have talked about because it hasn't been an issue because Hypixel has done a great job, is power creep. Going back to the updates for endgame players thing, just as a reminder, when Dungeons first came out, Hypixel had a massive issue with power creep. The Hyperion was too strong for all the content they had. This is also why Master Mode was a big hit. But if they keep adding cooler and stronger weapons, the old weapons that were the best will just fall out of use and basically never see the light of day again. Just like the AOTD or the Midas Sword. I think Hypixel did a great job slowing and combating power creep, and a lot of what they did with the Crimson Isles was very successful and introduced newer and better armor sets in a good way that didn't directly contribute to power creep. Separating outside of dungeons and inside of dungeons was a big step forward. I would love to see more big updates, but it takes time to do balancing and to release another Crimson Isle style thing instead of this sword stronger, do more damage, now old sword bad. If they add better stuff, by the way, it probably kills dungeons and pisses a lot of people off. Another point that helps combat power creep is soul binding stuff for updates is by far the best way to go about it. At least for the first couple of months. I loved what they did with Crimson Isle. I heavily agreed with it because it forced people to actually play the update, not just buy out everything they need and bam, they're done. Hence what has been happening with the past couple updates. Actually, a cool thing they could implement from a server I used to play called Kazakh Prisons, I'm sure some of you at least have heard of it, would be something called a level cap, but not really like a level cap itself, more like a money cap. This could be a massive coin sink as well around updates. For example, they release an update like normal with items that are soulbound or co-op soulbound, just like they did for Crimson Isles, but add behind a community goal of paying 10 billion coins or whatever some odd amount for it to be unsoulbound. People can donate as much or as little as they want. Those coins get deleted from the game, and it dictates whether people want to grind or buy out the items. I don't know how practical this is. Personally, this is just an idea I had. I think it's worth giving some thought to. If it's a terrible idea, tell me in the comments. I really don't care. It's not like this is not a hill I'm going to die on. It was just an idea I had. And the last thing I'd like to leave you guys with is good players are critical of the game. Stay critical of the game. Keep asking for more, never become satisfied, and eventually this game will be refined and it will be as good as we can all hope for. I truly do love this game. I want to see its best. There are some issues. I think it's still in the best spot it's ever been, and it's only going to, at least from a game standpoint, become better and improve. And also, I don't know if you guys saw the whole big debacle with the 1.8 versus 1.20 and the new transfer packets thing. I could do another one of these, I guess, kind of rant style videos on that too, if you are curious about that, because I don't really care one way or the other, but I think it'd be kind of a cool topic to cover. And if you guys did enjoy the video, please make sure to like, comment, subscribe, join the Discord, discord.gg/theogyadi, check out the Twitch, twitch.tv/theogyadi. Drink Rogue Energy, link to it in the description, and I will see you guys in the next one. Peace.